We apply imagination and logic to raw materials to build our world. But there's a nagging anxiety beneath every act of invention, whether we are actually making something new or merely shifting the pieces of a puzzle that were already there. The thermodynamic reality is unyielding. Every physical object, the chair you're sitting on, the hard drive storing this video, the cells in your own body, is built from atoms on loan from entropy. Those materials were forged in stars long before you existed and will scatter back into the universe long after you're gone. This creates a mechanistic view where the creator is a sovereign ego shuffling the universe's furniture, a bookkeeping exercise that assumes no new value is added to the ledger. That trap hinges on the word just. It assumes that physical substance is the only metric of reality that counts, and that the configuration of those materials is secondary. Look at what happens when hydrogen and oxygen combine. Every single atom from the original gases is perfectly conserved in the final product, yet wetness is nowhere in those gases. You can conserve every scrap of material and still bring across a property that had no prior existence. Creation lives in the arrangement. When we draw a line where none existed, we are performing the generative act itself. To see how arrangement dictates reality, we have to strip the universe to the floor. Picture the state before any physical or conceptual structure exists, an undifferentiated void with no geometry, no rules, and no features. This is Spencer Brown's laws of form. It argues form cannot exist without a primordial command: draw a distinction. You must mark a boundary that severs a space. The text clarifies this boundary isn't placed into a room, it constitutes the room. Slicing the void generates structure. That first cut is the genesis. Every complex system, from Boolean logic to language, unfolds from that single act of severing space. We can apply this mechanism directly to the physical origin of reality. What was the first input that gave our cosmos its shape? This is David Albert's past hypothesis. Our universe began in an incredibly specific, improbably low entropy configuration. The physics equations don't explain why it started this way. It is a brute boundary condition. That starting condition operated as the cosmos's first drawn distinction. By beginning in that ordered state, the universe defined a boundary that forced time to flow in one direction, from order toward disorder. No new substance was required to make time move. The arrow of time exists because a specific initial arrangement was chosen from the void. The universe is constantly expanding, and its materials are shifting. So what happens to those initial boundaries as time moves forward? We see the answer in Noether's theorem. Looking at the key insight section, every continuous symmetry yields a conserved quantity. The laws of physics are invariances. They describe what remains unchanged when the frame of reference shifts. Think of a melody transposed up a fifth. Every note changes position. No original material carries over. Yet it's recognizable because the intervals hold rigid. Energy and momentum operate similarly. The invariant relationship, the distance between things, is what survives transformation. The rules governing reality were never a pile of material inputs. They are the downstream translations of that primordial boundary cut, echoing forward. We must apply this lens to ourselves. The biological arrangement doing the imagining is itself a temporary configuration of borrowed components. Our status as an assembly of borrowed atoms clarifies our creative power. We build by carving new patterns into the material we've been handed. There is a paradox in how we claim ownership of those patterns. The signature you carve into a work, the ego insisting "I made this," is the most perishable piece of the artifact. Names erode off monuments long before the stone turns to dust. When you strip away the author's claim, what remains is the pure form itself. A mathematical theorem or an uncredited melody requires a carrier to survive, but it holds a unique property. It can be reinstantiated, perfectly intact in another mind. Without the drag of an ego, the form becomes repeatable across time. When the act of arrangement is pushed to its absolute limit, the distinction collapses. To rearrange existing materials deeply enough is to erase the seam between rearranging and creating. To add a distinction is to generate reality. The lines we draw prove that form is as consequential as the matter it organizes.